everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 12/14/25. This is going to be a short Q&A, folks, with a bit of a direction, but not. At this point, I now open this circle to true benevolence and no conflicting agendas at this moment in time. So, Joanne?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love us, let them nourish us, and let them bring us to our highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda, in order that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent or mischievous type beings to be swept away, so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say so be it.
And so be it. And now we go on to the affirmation and blessing. To life and how you should not consider your life an unlived one. And that was from Vesa. So now, the Q&As are always like a mishmash of questions. The way that I decided to fix some of the lengthy type of things along with associated with some of the Q&As, you saw some of those were quite long. So I put one question in here, and then we go into the Galactic Elemental Spirit contribution, and then we go into a shorter Q&A that way. So that it may not focus on the question. We can put do a miscellaneous question for the middle one, and then we go into whatever topic Spirit or Galactic or Elemental wishes to talk about. So if there's a question left over, then we can do it that way. I think for the most part, we would like to make it into show topics, personally, and we can always expand on this as well. Any of these ideas from past Q&As as show topics as well, but it would help us more as a show topic. So I will move this here. All right, there you go.
Was Archduke Franz Ferdinand's assassin, Gavrilo Princip, a time agent, or a mind-controlled person, or both?
This is actually quite fascinating. He's the one that was assassinated in World War I, that preceded World War I, the one that sparked the worldwide collapse of treaties and agreements between countries at the time. This was Vesta that said this. No, he was not a time agent, but was indeed mind-controlled to get up seemingly without warning and assassinate Archduke Franz Ferdinand. This was the deep state, quote unquote, of its day, but have time agents looked at and do look at those events? Yes, they do. They are how the rest of the events leading to World War I got started. A powder keg, if you will, of broken treaties, broken promises, minor invasions, major invasions that the history books do not talk about, and so on and so forth. It's like what we said about the Gardner family, going back to the Jamestown time frame, and all major player in the time travel projects, along with the Sverdlov family, branches of off each other. And they actually contributed to the formation of this country as a result of the manipulation of the timelines. So that doesn't surprise me that the World Wars, I believe the second one was also a result of this. That goes along with that Twilight Zone episode where the Howling Man, where the guy lets Satan out of this prison with the hooked staff. And what happened after was World War I and World War II. They kind of blamed it on an extra evil that came about. Not necessarily Satan, but you could say, Hitler's dealing with the Draco reptilians and the Orions and the like. You can pretty much attribute it to the same concept. So, which I find interesting that it's very similar. Again, they blamed it on the devil in the storyline, the Howling Man, but you get the idea. So, let me see here. Okay, we will go straight into this. I will just put this down. And I find it interesting that the one that is wanting to speak, and he hasn't been on for quite some time, would be Hulk Hogan. And so he was one of he actually finds the couple of these images actually good from his wrestling career. This one in particular where he's doing this. Born August 11th, 1953, died July 24th, 2025. And you can go back on past Q&As to hear what he said before. He's coming and going. He is now different than he was here during his Hulkamania years. So, and which I find it rather synchronistic and ironic because last night we saw John Cena's final match last night. More of a, people were shocked that he did the tap out thing. And it was more, think of it as theater. You don't want to think of it as a match, think of it as theater. And it's more of a goodbye, a tap out, I'm done. I was kind of irked that they just didn't have him raising the sword at the end kind of deal. But I get the whole tap outs quietly and done. I get the theater involved in it now. So, and I just heard him good. I would have thought you weird if you thought it was real. Okay. All right. He goes, newsflash, folks, WWE's fake. Okay, so, duh. Okay. Real athletics, fake script. That's what he said. Scripted reality. Okay, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Yeah, his name's Terry. The real name is, let's see, Terry how did I pronounce that?
Jean Balea.
Terry Jean Bollea. Yeah. Either one he goes by. If you hear channelings of Terry Jean Bollea, that is Hulk Hogan. So, there was a concept he wanted to touch on. Let me look at my script here. Okay, and okay, that's involving that. All right. Okay. Okay, there we are. That's the concept he wanted to talk about, was also in the affirmation of blessings. So he put a clue in there for me. So, all right. But I find it interesting. We just saw the thing about John Cena and he's wanting to talk here. The concept I believe he wanted to touch on was completing cycles, and I just realized I don't have the correct channel crystal in front of me. Top shelf there. Yeah. I just had the Shungite piece in front of me here for sessions because I just done a session. So. All right. No, Hulk, I'm not getting a Hulkamania statue. No. Okay. Let's see. Kidding. Okay. And you don't want to think of him as just Hulk Hogan anymore. He has a bigger role. I can let him explain, but he's bigger than he was. But he's kind of taken on almost a protector guide role, sort of. And so I'll let him go into it. Yes, I will give an update. He was generous enough to lend me his voice. Since the last time we spoke, I've gone, you would say up in frequency, but that's not the right term. It's more faster moving. And the job I'm doing over here is more of a observation and you can say protecting and sending synchronicities in the protection area of spirit. Sorry, the channel is kind of shoddy today. There's a lot of static in the air outside. You can blame some of your chemtrailing and things of this nature. But what I wanted to actually talk about, and I spoke about this in private with himself, as well as with one other channeler, about completion of contract, what you call a soul contract. There really aren't soul contracts per se, but for the sake of argument with the terminology, you know what I mean, or soul mission. The argument is, it is not complete until you have died. And usually by the time you have the thoughts surrounding this kind of thing, you're getting ready to pass on. That's not always true, but for me it was. That I just wanted out of my contract. Loved my wife dearly, loved my daughter dearly, loved all of this. But some of the series of unfortunate events that were happening in my life, I wanted to change. It doesn't mean that I didn't love who I was around, but you wanted a continuation, an upgrade, how can I put this? Just a changing of the guard. And some people are going through this. Some people call it midlife crisis in some areas, but that's not quite completely accurate to this concept. Essentially, the completion of a cycle. You would say, like very much like ghosts, that like the man who reincarnated, who had been murdered in a previous life, and he had owned an electronic shop and all this in India, that kind of thing. And as a little boy, he knew his wife here and everything. In an X-Files episode, he says where there's a little girl that that previous incarnation was a guy that was murdered that came in to complete a cycle like a ghost, and then those memories left of that past life. It's essentially the same thing, completion of a cycle in that area. Now, what I'm trying to get is this: say you're living your life, and you uh, don't like the continuation of a way of being. You can change this, of course, with manifestation. But you're sensing, sometimes if you're towards the end of your earthly existence, you're sensing what you left behind in spirit or galactic, if you will. Or you're sensing you've been somewhere else that had something more convenient, like his computer, where where he yells at his computer kind of thing, but he's used to from another existence computers that flow with the telepathic thoughts of people and the way things work, like giving instruction to the manifestation you are putting out, kind of thing. You're used to another existence somewhere. I fully understand this. Now, what I'm getting at, normal life scenario, or what you would call it. Yes, I had a life that was very fulfilled, but yet unfulfilled. And of course, with the targeting I received with the leukemia and all, this is not something I wished, but I did not wish to bring targeting down on you, so I will leave it to this. That you are going through your day to day. Yes, you love who you are around and who you're with, but it doesn't mean that you don't want to change of how people would put looking at the same four walls. And to someone who is of a particular frequency, yes, it would be looking at the same four walls. You're suffering from a more of an isolation sickness in that way. Some people, like that's more for spirit, like Robin Williams would tell you. He wanted to go back to Soul Family, but he wanted to make a point while he was here. Now, what I'm trying to say is this. When you are in your life and you feel like there's more, of course there's more, but you also have to be grounded here. If you just want to, say, change out your contract, so to speak, some people, again, are under the impression that you cannot. No, you can change your stars by sometimes switching timeline you're on. If you've had enough of one thing, you can then flow to the next timeline by which a particular outcome of why you're here plays out differently, or plays out to where your oversoul can play out whatever the mission is in a slightly different format to where it is more fair, balanced, and fulfilling. That also sometimes means people and places and things that you are around. Sometimes it means maybe more of something, you get through it and then get to the other side of it. Now, it doesn't mean that your oversoul gets to torture you while this happens. There are a variety of different timelines of the way this can play out. Some people get harangued or stuck in one or two or 10 within the same frequency fluctuation, or he would say set or subset. I was not an expert in this, but this is what I am seeing as an oversoul. You can ask me anything you like, if you would.
Well, first I have to go back to the original question that was asked that, because we were talking about the First World War and the conditions around there, and the fact that something interesting was brought up regarding the fact that mind control and getting people to do things was actually available to be done that early. I think
Yes.
that is a misnomer that people,
Think it was just invented.
yeah, I think so. When it seemed to be around, things seemed to be around a lot longer than people knew, because again, these Kabbalists, let's say groups, like we said, for years and years and years, for hundreds of years, aliens have been working with people, and behind the scenes, technology had been being developed. So this was, I think, the first conversation brought up that kind of alluded to the fact that, yes, you thinking of black ops now, but these deep ops and these deep things have been happening for centuries.
Yes, that, and also the fact that you had your Aleister Crowleys doing their magic, you had Adolf Hitler's having the contract with the ETs, all of these things throughout that period, and also something you brought up in an earlier episode, and this goes into the completion of a cycle as well, where souls from the First World War are now back here to prevent a third, you see. And this is exactly also on topic from what I wanted to bring up. This is why he was influenced to add that question into the Q&A. It was about Franz Ferdinand. My soul was around at that time as well, seeing some of these events take place. The history didn't get all of them. There were all these little skirmishes in the background and all these little finite refinements on how the wars went, more of a planned type of thing. You attributed to your Laurel Canyon and your 100 Years Disclosure narrative. It went back before that, but like he would say with the Eisenhower thing, it was a re-up. He calls it the re-up of a contract, and that's more accurate. And also that Twilight Zone episode with the devil creating World War I, World War II, the more outlandish, more brutal wars and conflicts and death. Yes, that I would have to agree on a particular level, not the devil, but more of a devilish energy and contract, if this makes sense. The completing of that cycle, or like you would end a lineage curse, like Isaac did as well for himself and for other things as well, which I'm sorry to hear about this, but at the same time, those souls coming back in are reversing that polarity and not allowing these narratives to continue on. And if a contract or a cycle must complete at the end of the 100-year cycle, it is not going to be the same completion as what those people were counting on. Yes, does it have to be completed? Yes, but not in the fashion by which they were dictating. It is the way you dictate. You can change your stars, you can change that timeline and switch track it at any time. Just because you feel you're at your end and have an unfulfilled life doesn't mean that it must continue along that thread. Or doesn't mean you would call this the cheese concept, whereas you are set in place to allow the busting of other attackers that would come or targeters that would come your way. And others in the SSP community have been this way as well. Some have not. Some are play acting the part. Others are actually the legit article, or some believe they are. But the point I'm making is this. This is still no matter what the narrative is in place, this is a continuation and then the subsequent turnaround and completion of a cycle. Just like on a personal level, where you feel that you have to change your stars. And this goes with people, places, things, events. His friends are in their own situations are experiencing these things where they never thought certain things were possible before even this week. And I'm telling you, and I'm telling you right now that even from the last big cycle, which was essentially Eisenhower's time, to the one before it, which was in the World War II time frame and the changeover to the 50s. This is why you saw the split timeline in your Fallout universe, where it made that 50s nuclear universe, and the one before that was World War I. You see the cyclical pattern? You can flip this pattern around at any time. Just why Franz Ferdinand was mentioned here. That was the beginning of a bigger one, and these souls have had enough, and they're going to come back in and balance this out, and that is what is occurring.
So,
With the cheese concept, that's also a balancing because of the fact that it keeps happening, but the oversoul doesn't have to keep regurgitating that. It can change that concept.
but you're saying, if I just heard you correctly, and I just want to make sure that the information is being heard correctly, that a lot of souls have been coming in that were a part of World War I, but there continue to be souls that are being born in now that maybe were a part of some of that again, that are going to grow up to not want that kind of
Yes,
thing.
yes.
So it's not like they're all in. There is this people who have experienced an unbalancing aspect of war, and now the
No, they
goal
want
is
it out
to
of it,
come in
yes.
to get out of it and to transition this into something else.
Yes, this is why the ones you call the Mozen that were actually existing in the World War I, World War II time frames have had enough. They don't want the whole power of three where there's a World War III. So they are in actually assisting in the periphery. They assisted the United States and Great Britain after your Germany with the ETs that assisted them. Cassiopeia, Draco, and Orion assisted him. They stepped in to defend the galactic treaties, but at the same time, because they didn't want global Nazi anything, and they still fight to this right now, even sometimes to the death. But even though those guys are on the ropes, so to speak, little wrestling joke. But even if they want, if the propaganda is that the cabal is on its way out, it's on the ropes, it's in the final throes, that's propaganda. You have to make this so. No Trek joke intended. But in this instance, those souls that don't want war, this includes the Mozen that's helping you. They're considered to be ghost soldiers, so to speak. And there are those that battles that continue. Gettysburg was also one of those. You may have noticed that whole cyclical thing, along with the Civil War. The Gardeners planned this out. But after the 1800s turnover, when you started with the World War I cycle, this is really what's kicked this into gear. And those souls are back, and they have had enough of the war cycles. And they are here to rebalance this and not be on the wrong timeline chain of events that has regurgitated a number of times within not only the multiverse, but even those little finite hairs of branches of the timeline. That's why you're getting deja vu, just things you're seeing on the news and everything, because you've done this before. The Oversoul has done this and went, oh, for fuck's sake, that kind of thing, and is actually trying to correct this within the great tree, if this makes sense. The rebalance, the void is also involved as well.
Right. So, yes, I can understand that. Again, that oversoul trying to balance out the experiences, no offense, just in its oversoul self, trying to balance out from its experiences, and there's too much of one thing, and so they need to rebalance.
Yes.
And that needs to be rebalanced out as well. So I certainly can get that. Again, just to briefly go back to that World War I, that era of time. Again, when we were talking about the historical facts that led up to the last re-up, the 100-year disclosure contract, we were basically trying to explain how these individual persons or royalty or whatever you want to say for these countries were still fighting to see who was going to land on top.
Yes.
And it had more to do with that than anything, I would figure, at that turn of the century coming in there, which finally led up to them realizing they couldn't conduct themselves like this anymore. They had to yield basically to, like we talked about, an ascendant type line.
Yes, they couldn't war with each other like this. They had to re-up and actually change how the Cabal families did things. They couldn't be so overt. And then, of course, World War II came along when somebody else wanted to keep going on the old thread. And that would be Hitler.
Mhm.
And that group, they're like, no, we're going to keep playing it this way with the world domination type of overt technique. And he was basically put in his place, even though you had the Martian Germans, even though you had Werner von Braun, the paperclip incident, all of these things, high jump, all of these. They learned to, just like in that MacGyver episode where the lady goes, Hitler moved too quickly. They learned to play it in a form of, with the cabal families too, with the Rothschilds, all of it in a form of ascendancy, move, counter move, faction versus faction, spy versus spy. And this was far more effective than the original. And keep war going on the surface to distract the peasants and distract everybody into having violent mindsets all the time and the mind control, the dumbing, all of this, just so they can kick each other in the nuts in silence.
So you have to move forward then to what's going on right now in the Ukrainian type of situation, because I have to say that
Not your friend.
it feels like to me that truly the vast majority of human beings who know about that war truly do want it. They don't want to see it happen. They don't want the youth killed and pulled into war like they've been doing. So I think I have to say that people's in general frustrations are so high because it just doesn't seem to end. So what is actually keeping it from ending when you have, unless I'm wrong in my perspective, a huge amount of people who want to see it end? That energy of wanting to see it end is pretty large.
When cycles are close to completion or ending, there is what is the term? A candle burns brightest when it's about to go out. Flame burns brightest when it's about to go out. This is just like what happened with Hitler. More of a violent throw ending, even though it was a play acting, so they could go underground and do their thing. And Hitler going to Argentina and all those things did actually happen. What ended up happening was they wanted to integrate these people into society, so they made so people had to make peace with them, even though they felt they should be put to death. But in not allowing a cycle to complete, to get rid of certain evil, it regurgitates and regurgitates and regurgitates. And that is what you're seeing now. You're seeing a couple of the cabal factions duking it out on the surface, even though to distract people, but they're actually duking it out in the old school way, because it never was resolved. It never, there's some of that Nazi mentality, like you heard about Vladimir Putin talking about within the Ukraine, and then you have his old school techniques as well from the Cold War. This is what you get. You're seeing a regurgitation of the old school way of doing it, not new way. And the cabal families don't completely like it. The factions don't completely like it because it puts a target on them. The newer ones are used to doing this on the down low. They don't want it out in the open, but the war itself, all this is a news distraction. The cabal is turning it into, they're over bloating it, they're overselling it, trying to start a World War III type of scenario so that then they can do their purge that they want to do. Or martial law or whatever they want to do. Going from disease to war to nuclear strike, all that stuff that you heard before, to open it up to the galactic community, that kind of thing, which isn't going to happen. But in short, you're seeing spillage over to what with just a couple of them kicking each other in the nuts, trying to claim resources, but also the cabal then turning it into a big public spectacle to get people in a warlike state, even though they didn't completely plan for some of these things. These are they'll just say we'll put it down to a really small example here. Say if you had a family and you had two siblings duking it out and they just had to beat the shit out of each other. And so you put them in the ring and you just let them beat the crap out of each other until they're a bloody stump. That's what's going on right now. You have these cabal factions that they felt they had to wave their wieners at each other, and they figured, screw it, we're just going to use it as a narrative and continue and use it as part of this war narrative. The whole thing in Russia and Ukraine. Granted, the powder keg was already sparked, even from the times of World War I and World War II. You even heard Putin talking about things back from the medieval period. This is true. This continuous spark or powder keg has been going off in little spurts forever and ever and ever, and then eventually gets to the keg itself and explodes. This is one of those instances. You're dealing with family factions that hate each other's guts, and they don't really care who's killed in the process. They will grab people off the streets, like you've heard them doing, just to fight it and duke it out. And part of that also coincides, another layer is purging and culling people down in useless fights. This is why American soldiers are sent to God knows where in the Middle East and other what you would say shithole parts of the planet type of thing. This is why this continues. It's more of a slow culling. Your COVID was more of a quick one, so to speak. This is more, we're just going to send people to war constantly and have everybody in a state of perpetual war. The reptilian thing, believe it or not, is more the minor thing. The looshing, that's actually more of a minor thing. This is more of a self-farming at this point, what you're seeing.
Which I can agree. And I think it's an interesting concept because it feels like to me, again, one thing that we have talked about before historically around the world is that not everybody is vibrating in the same frequency octave on this earth. You have places where, people are more advanced in society and acceptance and, technologies, let's say, or whatever. And then you have, I swear, some cultures that are still, we would consider it being the Middle Ages and quite brutal, let's say. So I think,
worlds collide, yes.
Well, and then what happened, it seems to me, this is just my humble opinion, is that, certain groups, Kabbalist groups, had the bright idea that let's make them intermingle and see what kind of chaos we can cause there, which was a lot of the again, putting people from certain cultures that were in a more brutalized medieval lifestyle, throwing them into some of the advanced civilizations by, by claiming some sort of displacement and they had to be there. And then the doors fled open and literally it's amazing to be, again, just was a frequency thing, that the goal then is that, which one is going to win out is the lower vibrational frequency. And I hate using lower, but that octave of that type of stuff, is it going to bring the rest of society down into it, which would make the cabal very, very happy? Or,
they don't always plan everything. Sometimes they will use what's happening too.
Right. And then it's a matter of, but then can we now use this to cause World War III? Can we use this kind of problem? Because then when you talk about culling, you know what I mean? It's a way to get rid of a lot of different people, especially certain people in a certain frequency. So it's almost like some of these people are literally being used because they'll be the first ones called off.
Yes.
No offense, but they will be. Instead of leaving people in their cultures and their place to grow as they grow. So the amount of chaos, in my humble opinion, that was maybe something small was taken advantage of, but then they decided to explode it into something else to really see what kind of chaos they could cause.
Oh, yes.
By opening borders. Not just here, we're not just talking this country, but other countries as well. And people that literally in frequency are not close at all, let's just say, but the chaos that it has caused. So I can certainly see where, you wanting to look at that and say, well, how is this going to get resolved in a positive way for humanity? Because it just seems to be another way to actively allow those Kabbalist ones to be able to still do what they want.
It's just like what happened with your borders, where they let people in so long and they knew they wouldn't be able to recatch everybody. Basically, it's like, okay, let them intermingle, intermix, then flush the toilet. Let them intermix, flush the toilet. That's why your Trump is closed the border. Now, eventually, this will result in your North American coalition or unity or union, however you want to call it, and the money is already changing. You'll see that some of your change is going away. They're trying to go all digital. You do not want this. fight against this tooth and nail because of the fact of that it's more controllable. You want it to have a solid and a digital. You want both. It's more convenient this way. They figure also people figure they'd be able to shut off people's money if it were digital, if they don't agree with their political views. It'll be harder to undo or unfry the egg if you allow the egg to be fried. If this makes sense, do not let them allow them to break the egg. They're already preparing the kitchen. They're already have the skillet out. And just like the analogy with your war on drugs, this is your brain on drugs. Any questions? That load of horse crap. Do not allow them to break the egg. They have not broke it yet. You must not allow them to do this. Keep commerce the way it is. They wanted to cull down some of the small businesses because the more people that would resist this in that area, the more the merchants, the harder it would have been to implement. So they did that during COVID. They attacked the businesses primarily because they were considered royalty in the Middle Ages. They didn't want people ascending, no pun intended, to the royalty status in society, because they knew if little businesses kept going, even physical spots, just like what he keeps saying, that he would make it mandatory to have physical and a digital, which that presents its own set of problems, but his heart's in the right place. You have anything mandatory that tends to cause a set of problems, but allowing it to flow correctly, they are blocking the flow. They are putting a dam in place like they did with the COVID mandates and the masks and all that crap. And I had to endure that too before I left. But anyway, with this, and did it rewrite some of my thoughts? Yeah, I have to say so. So yes, all of the above was a little dangerous, but it wasn't warranting shutting down the globe. This is another form of it. You're just seeing it slow, just like the Nazi lady in your MacGyver episode. He calls it the pegboard episode. Explains Hitler moved too quickly. They are integrating their pieces in place. Don't allow them to break the egg.
Well, thank you.
Eggs represent cycles, by the way. One cycle ending, another one starting. That's what they're thinking. Break this egg, have the next seed start. He says in your Skyrim when the dragon says, you wish to prevent the next seed from forming, kind of thing. In this case, just like what was done in that game cycle where you prevent the world eater from destroying the world, or in your infinite where the egg is the symbol for starting a new world. That's why I use the egg symbol, because you prevent this egg from ending, that whatever new one they want cannot form.
So let's just talk about something practical right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have to bring it up because it's getting to such a disturbing point. Mm-hmm. It's the housing crisis. Mm-hmm. And it really is disturbing because, it used to be, of course, people would say, oh, it was cheaper to buy than it is to rent. It's not anymore, but it's not even cheaper to rent. I mean, people are, the amount of struggling that is going on, we can be grateful that egg prices have come down, but I mean,
that's a symbol they were using. Why do you think they focused on eggs so much?
Right.
Like the dragon says, you want, Parthenos says in Skyrim, do you wish to see the next, to prevent the next egg from forming? And it's a symbol of life. It's a symbol of cycle, like the cycle of chicken and the egg type of thing. Why do you think egg is always referenced? It is because it is a cycle. It's a cycle they are forcing to create and open up their new world order is what it is.
So
housing with it too.
Well, that's my point. My question is when, it's getting to such a disturbing level, what do you see? I mean, how is this going to finally break for humanity? I mean, I don't understand. It
must, and they are using digital currency and digital means, as he and Bjorn discovered with your Bitcoin. Essentially, the debt is being bought off through Bitcoin and then disseminating the debt throughout the world. Therefore, it creates a world economy. Therefore, it's the start of a new world order type of thing. The housing prices then would not go down. They would remain firm. It wouldn't implode if the debt was given globally. You see, if it was spread out. You want it to implode and collapse. So why do you think the Biden administration or the parents only puppets, and you get the idea. Why do you think it was inflated? Because that debt had to go somewhere. You bleed it off to the rest of the globe through like a Bitcoin type of thing or cryptocurrency. Then the housing prices would never go down. They knew it was inevitable that it would burst. This must be prevented. Because now that you know about this must be averted. Because then it will just right itself. People are wondering why this isn't going anywhere is because they're trying to siphon this off, like gases from a volcano siphoning out. Or if you have a hot water tank, what happens to prevent it from exploding? They have that little belching thing on the side. That's what's going on right now, is they're letting off the steam, the pressure, or opening a pop bottle really slowly so it doesn't erupt all over the place. That kind of thing, or a geyser. So you want the geyser in this instance. You want it. Will this housing prices go down? Yes. However, you must prevent them through thought. Thoughts are things. Through your psionics, through your manifestation. You must absolutely avert this and not let this convert over. You must make them keep a solid form of currency in place. Yes, that you can do things through cryptocurrency, but there must be choices. Just like if it goes over to Galactic Standard. The Galactics know that there must be choice. You want choice. Big thing here. Do not give your choice away. You want those housing prices to go down? You make them go down. Manifestation, and allow the market to collapse the way, and in itself, the way that it is meant to, and right itself. Because it will, if they allow the economic physics to be utilized in the original way. It may not be completely the same, but in this instance, it will happen if you don't allow it to be spread globally. This is what I know. Excuse, there is a distraction in place. Let me get rid of this. Did you have any other questions for myself?
No, just any last thing that for this talk that you would want to bring through?
Yes, this is something that I was run into, and I don't want my children to run into this either. People always say spirit is not involved in this. How could spirit abandon this? How could God or true benevolent source creator you call abandon? And allow is the allowance to therefore create the antigen. It had to go far enough where people had to see this. And they're already seeing it, like you saw with your FEMA camp back with the COVID debacle. It happened in your Australia, New Zealand, and other places like China and everything. That ghost of that old Chinese woman that you guys saw that time was showing you what had happened there in a generation previous or time previous and was going on. And also the oppression of your Uyghurs and all this other stuff was going on. And people were spotting the FEMA camps are going, wait a minute, we can't have this. That you must have this due diligence with your money markets. It may seem irrelevant. It may seem like, oh, we want Star Trek world where we don't need money. One step at a time. Prevent them from doing this. Yes, ultimately, you will have a world where the money is more balanced, but you still will have money. It's just like he spotted in the Elder Scrolls games and other movies, whereas it was a competition between companies, but it wasn't such an extent where it caused a divide in have and have not. It was more of like supplies were sold when created, and it was just a more balanced system. It will return to this. Once you get rid of some of the larger corporations, some of your communications corporations, some of your medical gets balanced out, you are experiencing this where it's severely unbalanced at the moment. Any unbalance must be righted. You cannot circle the toilet. I'm saying this from more of a spirit. This is more of a spirit interjection completely, not just Hogan. I'm speaking this, giving this as more of a spirit directive. You have not been abandoned. You have not been forgotten. Nothing is forgotten. Humanity cannot circle the toilet, no matter the timelines, no matter which timeline. So this is what I came in to say. If there are no further questions, I can attach. So I thank you. And as a bit of a wrestling reference, I will say, from spirit perspective, those that are allowing or creating the circling of the toilet, Hulkamania will come for them. And that's from a spirit perspective, as well as a Terry Boella, Hulk Hogan perspective. So I thank you for having me on. So he did look the same sort of as he did before. His hair was the long blonde, but he looked younger. He kind of had a Viking like appearance to him, where the beard was like all the way down here, and he had the long blonde hair. But he kept on the classic yellow, golden, and orangey tank top that it just said Hulkamania on it. That's really all it said. The one time I saw him during a session, he decided one time to peel that off, and he had a lifting t-shirt underneath it. So he said our website, thelifting.net. So I thought that was cute. But yeah, he's right. What he meant by Hulkamania is coming for them from the spirit perspective is the fact of the circling the toilet. It's not going to continue. It can't. The laws of nature. Some people call it, like higher law, or was it galactic and or spirit law, or something of that nature. There really isn't something like that. It's more the nature writing itself, and you can't, and spirit writing itself. Higher law or spirit law or God's law. It's not really that. It's more of a rebalancing of the multiverse and the timelines. The void is more pushing that, and spirit's pushing that, if this makes sense. If you want more information on some of that, we have that in our GIC pile of shows about the Exegetical tree and the multiverse. So also, I believe this is where we can take it out. Anything else to add, Joanna?
No. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this conversation.
Okay, and check out me, my friend Phantom Gigabyte, and Lady Laura on Trifold Paranormal on Friday nights as well. So on their channel, I can always put link in the description. So for that channel. So at this point in time, I'm going to read the last affirmation blessing. I almost forgot it. So this was from Hulk Hogan. All right. To change your life contract, one must have an epiphany of soul and of spirit, and one must also come to realize that they are free of all things cumbersome, energetically speaking, as well as people that are of the old ways, not simple but necessary to evolve. That is Terry Gene Boella, aka Hulk Hogan. So I actually liked that particular one. You might see that one pop up on Facebook. So at this moment in time, I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas at this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye now.